This is the new MG4 Urban. It's an all-electric super mini that should cost a fiver under £22,000 if you include the cashback offers, and give you up to 258 miles of WLTP range if you choose the longer range versions. It's set to take on the likes of Renault's 4 and quite a few other things by the looks of it. So is the MG4 Urban actually any good? Let me be your guide. Oh yeah, and if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe, because that's how we make money.
Coming up, I catch MG in a lie.
It's not even related.
The driving part leaves me a bit confused.
This isn't bad at all.
And the Urban tells me off.
That was a bit rude, but I shall wait for your mood to lighten up.
I've just been told off by an MG. First of all, I want to point out that I have caught MG telling untruths, because this MG4 Urban has absolutely nothing to do with the MG4 proper. It's not even related. Okay, so it's a 5-seat electric hatchback, but that's about it. To create space in the ranges, the MG4 proper is now only available in the long range version, so this is the new budget-friendly MG, and budget it is. The Urban is also on a completely new platform to the old MG4. It's called the E3 platform, and it's front-wheel drive, where the original car is rear-wheel drive. And it looks different, quite a lot different. It's like all the edges have been slightly filed off the old car. Can you see ghosts of Model Y in these triangular headlights? Because I certainly can. Then at the front it's got the shuttering and the gaps for cooling down here, but this split nose, which is supposed to be inspired by the MG Cyberster 2-seat electric car. Then as we go down the side, it's actually quite an interesting one, this, because it doesn't look like an MG4. Obviously, these are the driven wheels now. E3 platform is front wheel drive, and it's got a kind of slightly boring profile, like it's got a bit of a short nose and then a fat body.
It's also bigger than an MG4, so 108mm longer, a little bit wider and higher, so overall a bigger car for less cash. Good for passengers, less good for parking. It's actually about 40cm bigger than a Renault 5, which makes it not exactly super mini sized.
You've seen what we think. If you want to try it for yourself, book a test drive for the new MG4 Urban by scanning the QR code on the screen.
As you get to the back, I actually think the back of this car is slightly more successful than the front and sides, because it's actually quite neat. It's got a little sort of spoiler area here, full width light bar. And again, if you remember the lights on the back of a Cyberster Roadster, they're like a semi-Union Jack with big pointy arrows. Well, these are the same, just slightly less obvious in this area. And then if you look at the back of it, it's kind of neat. Not a lot going on, but that's no bad thing. So it's absolutely fine, but don't forget there are quite a few cars out there that major on style. I'm just not sure this is one of them. As for the inside, when I first got in an MG4 Urban, I thought it was actually quite boring. But now, after having driven it for a little while, I think it's actually just gimmick-free. It's very grey, but there are nice soft touch bits all the way through the cabin. There's some nice sort of Alcantara stuff. The seats might be grey cloth, but they're actually very comfortable, and they do suit a lot of different sizes of humans. And then you've got just normal things, normal dials, no spinny screens or chintz. It's got a 3-spoke steering wheel with some decent buttons and 2 shortcuts so that you can program different things in here. I've got the brake regeneration and the different drive modes in this one. It's got a 7-inch driver's display up front, which just gives you all the normal information for driving, and then a 12.8-inch display in the middle, which is touchscreen. One thing you will notice is that all this stuff, if you're familiar with MG's other cars, the i6 and the i5, they've got this dash layout. So it's coming from a more expensive car. Makes sense that they share it. But one thing I do like is this car has a lot of advanced driver assistance systems like lane keep assist and speed limit warning and all those things that sometimes don't work. Well, it's got this thing called MG Pilot. So if you swipe down from the top, you get MG Pilot Custom, and you can set all the different parameters to how you want them. Then you just press that, confirm it, and you can switch them all off. You will save your sanity from the dreaded bongs. After that, it is a very comfortable car. There's a good view out of it, and it is very practical. So apparently There are 30 different storage spaces in this vehicle, and I started with there's a shelf, cup holders, a wireless charging pad, which is wireless for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and the storage in there, and obviously the storage underneath. But then I thought, where's the rest of them? So I started counting. 1, 2, 3, or is that the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 door bins, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then in the back, and 30. So it is really very practical.
One thing that helps is that the seats have a good range of adjustment, so lots of sizes of human can get comfortable. And that's true in the rear too. The Urban really is very capacious for this budget, and definitely bigger than the competition.
This is me sat behind my own driving position. It's massive. Plus the boot is actually really big at 479 litres, although when I opened the boot, it didn't actually look that big, just looked like a normal hatchback, until you realise it's got a double boot floor and a huge underfloor storage area. Can you stop following me around? It's weird.
Okay, so you can't exactly put your dogs in the underboot cavern, but at least you can store cables and dirty boots out of the way. And it's big enough to carry a full Buckley, so there's that.
Anyway, on to the driving. Look at this weather. It's basically like driving down a very grey tunnel made of cotton wool. This is England in the winter. It's about as inspiring as sleeping on a particularly uncomfortable bed. Now, I would like to say that driving the Urban is full of surprise and delight, because the MG4 proper is actually quite handy because it's rear-wheel drive. But I have to say that the Urban is probably not a car that I'm going to get up early on a Sunday morning just to have a drive in. Now, this car is a comfort long range, and that gives you a 53.9 kilowatt hour battery and a possible WLTP range of 258 miles, which is pretty good actually. It's got 158 brake horsepower and will get from rest to 62 miles an hour in 9.5 seconds. Now, if those kind of stats don't really mean much to you, that for an electric car is a little bit leisurely. I'm saying don't drag race people away from the lights, because you'll get beaten by a bicycle. But not everybody in the world actually needs a rocket ship. It might be electric, it doesn't mean it has to snap your neck every time you put your foot on the accelerator. It does have driving modes, which I can use via this shortcut button. So we've got Eco, Normal, Sport, Snow and Custom, which is probably 2 modes too many in my opinion. But if I just pull out of this junction here and press the accelerator all the way, it's fine. Now, if you go into snow mode, that obviously makes the throttle a lot less sensitive. Custom, you can set it up however you want. There's a sport mode and a normal mode, and I actually don't think they make much difference. It's not that kind of car. It doesn't really need a sport mode. Though I do think Eco is quite useful because it knocks back the air conditioning, takes some of the sensitivity out of the throttle. The car does become a little bit slower, but it gives you the maximum amount of range. The thing is, I think what a lot of people forget is that in a world full of, SUVs that do 0 to 62 in under 4 seconds, you think that every electric car needs to be absolutely neck snapping. Well, they just don't. This car is pitched as a city-based sort of urban, the clue is in the name, electric kind of hatchback. And for that usage, this is fast enough. You can take it on a motorway, it'll overtake a car if you need to do that on a country lane. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the amount of speed it's got. It's just that compared to other EVs, it's a little bit kind of sedate. But then who's buying this? It isn't boy racers, is it? It's also got different stages of brake regeneration. Again, I've set them up on this little shortcut. So you go low, medium, strong and adaptive. And I've been playing with them quite a lot, and you can just flick between them. I've got that on low now. I actually prefer it on strong. It's not a true one pedal kind of system, even in strong. It's better in adaptive if you want to do that sort of stuff. But it's good enough. When you get used to it, you can actually bleed the speed in the regen really nicely. So it's a good way of introducing yourself to brake regeneration, and actually it works really well. You know, we're getting good recovery, it's generating a decent amount of regen, even just making sure that I'm looking up and ahead, and then I use the regen most efficiently. And you know what? This isn't bad at all. It is slightly firmer than I was expecting from this car, because it's a city-based or city-biased EV. I thought this would be a bit plusher. We're on a particularly bad road now, but you're definitely feeling some of the bumps. It's quiet enough, but the trade-off for that firmness is it actually handles all right. Now this is obviously a different platform. It's that E3 platform that we talked about to the MG4 proper, and it's front wheel drive, and you do get a little bit of torque steer especially when you're pulling out of a junction in the wet, and that's because this car is trying to do the steering and the motivation from the front wheels, and they're trying to do it at the same time. So when one wheel gets a bit more grip than the other, especially on lock, the steering will pull slightly. That's torque steer. It's not terrible, but you do notice it. It happens with any front wheel drive EV, because an electric motor produces a lot of torque, a lot of twisting force from no RPM. So you do tend to get torque steer in front drive EVs. This isn't the worst I've driven. It's also not the best, but it's nicely in the middle. And as far as handling goes, again, it's not the worst car I've driven, but slightly more sporty than I thought it would be. I thought this would be quite dull, actually, and it's not entirely boring. Because everything is just set out in quite a simple way, a gimmick-free way, I know where everything is. Now, a lot of this stuff, as we talked about, has come from other MGs. So the MG6S and the MG5S and all of those cars. And all of these... Stop talking. Cancel. It's also got voice recognition, which doesn't always work properly, but...
That was a bit rude, but I shall wait for your mood to lighten up.
I've just been told off by an MG. She told me I was rude. Okay. She said I was rude and that she'd wait for my mood to lighten up. Wow. I think the interesting thing here as well is the fact that often we get in a car and we want something to grab hold of. You want it to be full of flair or excitement, or have something going on and make you feel the fizz kind of thing. But I think this is a kind of car that will long term satisfy more, because you won't get bored of it. It's not particularly fashionable, but that means it won't go out of fashion. There's loads of storage, there's loads of places to put things. Everything is, yes, slightly dark grey leather or fake Alcantara, but it's not gimmicky. I keep going back to that word. It's not gimmicky. And long term, that's what I want. I want a reliable car that is reasonable money, that does the jobs that I want it to do. 95% of people don't need a sexy, unreliable Alfa Romeo, to use a big cliche. They want a car that's going to work every day and do the jobs that they need it to do. And if you've got a small family and you want an electric car that just does a job for reasonable money, this is definitely worth considering. It's not going to get you many points for street cred, but for actually hitting the mission statement, I think it's pretty much there. I don't particularly like the way it looks, but I appreciate what it's pitched to do and the fact that it does that job really well. So as mentioned, there are currently UK grants of up to £3,750 for electric cars, as long as they meet certain parameters. Unfortunately, one of them is that they're manufactured in Europe, and the MG4 Urban is Chinese, so it doesn't get the money back. So what MG is doing is offering £1,500 cashback on the list price of this car, making it £21,995. Not only that, MG is also offering 0 down and 0% finance. So if you do your sums, your bank balance will really like this car.
Right, let's get down to the nitty gritty, shall we? The MG4 Urban comes in 3 versions. The Comfort standard range is £23,500 without the cashback, gets a 42.8 kWh LFP battery pack and 147 horsepower for 201 miles of range. The Comfort long range costs £25,500 pre-cashback and the Premium long range just under 28. They both get a slightly more powerful motor at 158 horsepower from a 53.9 kWh LFP battery and the 258 mile WLTP range, though they're not really any faster because they weigh a little bit more. As far as charging goes, the smaller battery gets 82 kilowatts of DC power and the larger one 87. Meaning 10 to 80% charge on the smaller battery in 28 minutes and more like 30 for the bigger one. Not great, but small batteries. And you get a heat pump as standard, so again, it's fine. And yes, there's vehicle to load for charging up extra things from the car. But all that is really only competitive and not exactly game changing. It's also got a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, which is obviously important, a 7-year 80,000 mile warranty including the battery, which is transferable to new owners. It's not an impractical or stupid decision. This is a car that forgoes the gimmicks for someone who wants a car that just does a job.
The problem that MG has got is that there are a lot of very talented and good-looking cars coming out in this sector. The MG4 Urban is definitely slightly bigger and it's definitely more practical, and if you do the sums, it is really quite cheap. But would you rather have a bit more style or a lot more practicality? Let me know in the comments.